For teleSUR, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We start in Brazil just 4 days ahead of the second round of a very tight presidential race. Since the first round of vote, incumbent President Dilma Rousseff's popularity seems to be waning, as polls showed she was neck and neck with right-wing candidate Aécio Neves. But 4 consecutive polls now show Rousset pulling ahead with 52% of the vote. That would be enough to win. Her Workers' Party promise is to expand social programs, while Neves wants more private sector involvement. Our special correspondent Stephanie Kennedy continues her coverage in Brazil. Hello, Stephanie.
Good day, Cody. Well, we continue our coverage here in Rio de Janeiro of Brazil's presidential elections. Now, Datafolha released another poll this morning confirming Dilma Rousset's edge over Aécio Neves, but it is still a technical tie. There is still a margin of error. Dilma leads with 52% of the valid vote intentions and Aécio Neves with 48%. This means that a lot still depends on the undecided voter. There are still 5 days to go till election, so the debate continues. The economy remains central to the discussion. Now, Datafolha has also released some interesting figures. 44% of Brazilians believe that the economy here will keep on improving. Things can only get better. 33% believe that things will stay the same, and 15% believe things will get worse. That's all for now. Stephanie Kennedy, back to the studio.
Thanks to Stephanie. Brazil's neighbor Uruguay is also set for a close presidential race this Sunday. The leftist ruling party, the Broad Front, is being challenged by 2 right-wing candidates. Uruguay's constitution prevents presidents from running for a second term, so incumbent Jose Mujica of the Broad Front is hoping to hand the batons to fellow party member Tabaré Vázquez. Their progressive policies, such as legalizing abortion and same-sex marriage, have angered the right, represented by Luis Lacalle and Pedro Bordaberry. The 2 challengers are both sons of former right-wing presidents. And in Mexico, tension and social unrest continue building following the disappearance of 43 students in Guerrero State. We go to our correspondent Clayton Kahn in Mexico City.
Today begins the second 48-hour university student strike in recent weeks as part of a continuation of mobilizations and actions seen across the country for the missing 43 students of Ayotzinapa. The demand to return alive the forcibly disappeared youth remains the same as it did nearly 1 month ago when they were attacked by local police in the state of Guerrero on the night of September 26. Meanwhile, senators from various parties have been debating whether to dissolve or disappear state powers in Guerrero, stripping the current governor of the Democratic Revolutionary Party, or PRD, Ángel Aguirre, his seat. Yet this decision has been postponed for October 30th.
And thanks to Clayton, we now go to Colombia, where the government and members of the FARC guerrilla army continue their talks to end the country's civil war. Our correspondent Charles Parkinson brings us closer insight into the process.
For Dr. Marco Romero, a member of the team from Bogotá's National University that has accompanied Colombia's peace process, 2 years into the negotiations, there is much to be positive about over the progress being made.
The dates around the process should not be given much importance. I think sometimes in the world of electoral politics, it's all about dates. But I believe that what is most important is that the process is healthy and maintains a good rhythm. But I believe that the accumulation of what has already been agreed on is a strength that means that the upcoming topics will be discussed in an atmosphere of greater confidence and success.
The 2-year milestone was marked by President Juan Manuel Santos during a public appearance on October 17th. According to Luis Emil Sanabria, a peace activist, the advances made during current negotiations are far more significant than previously seen during peace processes in the 1980s and early 2000s.
There is an agenda. There is a schedule for the negotiations, and there are points on which pre-agreements have already been made that society knows about. These things also weren't so clear during previous processes. And above all, they are talking about the victims with clarity and certainty. Victims are at the center of the negotiations.
And while it looks highly unlikely that President Santos will realise an election promise of having an agreement signed by the end of the year, there is now great expectation one will be completed in 2015. The peace talks appear to be making genuine headway, and with a public referendum set to take place once an agreement has been signed, the people of Colombia will soon have the opportunity to play a direct role in this historic process. Charles Parkinson, teleSUR in Bogotá, Colombia.
The UN General Assembly elected Bolivia, El Salvador, and Paraguay to join the 47 members of the Human Rights Council Tuesday. The countries will serve 3-year terms in the organization. The Department of the UN is charged with protecting human rights around the world. El Salvadorian President Salvador Sanchez Cerén and Bolivia's newly re-elected Evo Morales both call the vote a sign of international recognition of their country's progress.
The Human Rights Council.
In Peru, there is worry that the country's export of the grain quinoa is leading to a rise in childhood anemia. The demand for the grain abroad has led to a spike in prices domestically. Our Peru correspondent Rael Mora explains more on the correlation.
Peru is increasingly exporting quinoa, an ancient and highly nutritious grain that is becoming popular around the world. This is increasing its price and lowering its consumption locally, while children's anemia is widespread in the country.
We can't eat quinoa because of its price. Before, it was cheaper. I think it cost 3 or 4 soles per kilo. We could still consume it. 2 or 3 kilos will go a long way because it grows and expands. But now it costs 18 soles per kilo. And as I said, we can't afford it. That is the reason why we can't use quinoa. We should be using quinoa in our meals.
Quinoa is the grain with the highest concentration of iron, which is necessary to prevent anemia. Clelia Elias, who helps at a program to provide free breakfast to poor children in her neighborhood, believes the mix they give kids, which is provided by the government, does not have enough quinoa, and that is one of the reasons they still have anemia.
We send people to our health post here, which is very close by, but we tell them we can't do much. It is better to go to the health clinic to see what can be done for these children. Then, at the clinic, they tell us that the children have low hemoglobins.
According to a study published in the Agrarian magazine in 2013, Peruvians ate 2 kilograms less of quinoa than in previous years. Those who can't afford quinoa anymore are replacing it with less nutritious products such as rice and pasta. It seems there's a direct relationship between the current quinoa boom and malnutrition in Peru. Reporting for Lima, Peru for teleSUR, Rael Mora.
And thanks to Rael, we go to Cuba now, where 91 medics are on their way to West Africa to join the 165 Cubans already stationed there fighting the Ebola virus. The new group will be stationed between Liberia and Guinea, 2 of the worst-hit countries. Cuba has sent more medical professionals to help with the epidemic than any other nation. The latest deployment comes as the World Health Organization announced Wednesday that there are hopes for a vaccine for the deadly virus by January of 2015. And taking a look around the world, a breaking story out of the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Gunfire rang out earlier in the day in several locations across the city, including in the Parliament building. We are still covering this developing story. At least 1 Canadian soldier was shot. 30 more shots were fired, and the Canadian Parliament was put on lockdown immediately. Prime Minister Stephen Harper left the building safely as police converged on the area. He is said to be in a safe location. Please continue to check our website for the latest updates on this developing story. Staying in North America, protests continue in the St. Louis area of the state of Missouri over the police shootings of 2 black teenagers. More details about the cases have emerged. An autopsy report which seemed to validate Officer Darren Wilson's account of the shooting of Michael Brown was later called into question by a St. Louis medical examiner. October 22nd marks the annual National Day of Protest against police violence in the United States. Also in the United States, Pentagon officials hope to soon verify the validity of a video uploaded to the internet by the Islamic State group. The video shows IS insurgents finding a supply of U.S. weapons dropped by an aircraft in Syria. At the same time, a wave of sectarian violence has once again hit the Iraqi capital of Baghdad. A series of car bombs yesterday left 21 dead. And with the violence in Baghdad and the Islamic State group onslaught, it would be easy to think that Iraqis don't have much to laugh about. But Iraq's actors and writers are fighting the violence with parody and satire to give Iraqis a bit of light relief. The show State of Myths, which exposes the absurdities of the rebels, has become a big success. The show mocks the group's bizarre rules, such as a ban on the side-by-side display of tomatoes and cucumbers. Actors in the show say they are happy to play a small part in the fight against the militants. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.